Good afternoon. My name is Melody Bills, and welcome to Planning a Magical Disney Vacation 101. Disney is known as the happiest place on earth, and the last thing you want to do is go into it unorganized and having no idea what you're doing, because then there will be no happiness. I promise you, we've done it. So in this class, I'm going to teach you to plan the trip of a lifetime using just a little bit of organization and a lot of research. You're going to learn 3 important things today. One is to plan your budget, to plan where you want to go and how you, where you want to stay, and you're going to create an itinerary. I know those things may not be as important to some people and are more important to other people, and obviously you'll plan your trip accordingly, but we've gone several times and these have always been the basics for us, and they've never steered me wrong. So to get started, the first thing I'm going to suggest is that you go out and get yourself a Birnbaum guide to Walt Disney World. He makes one every year. They're put it out, and this is definitely a lifeline for us. They also make a child's version for kids so that kids can see what's out there, what they want to do, and there's games and activities in it, so it gives them the opportunity to plan. And my favorite place to get books would be Amazon.com or PaperbackSwap.com, because they're both pretty inexpensive. You can usually find a book, for its use, and I don't really care about that, for very little money. Or on the PaperbackSwap.com, you create an account and you trade books with people. You may get a book from this person, but then you post a book and they order it from you. And it usually, in the overall, it's about $4 basically for a book. I love it. I use it for everything. My second tip is going to be create yourself a planning binder. I usually have a little front cover. I'm real weird. I get too creative with these things. But I keep a binder, and anytime I plan anything, if I make a call anywhere, if I get an email, whatever, I print it out and it goes into my handy dandy binder. And I make little tips. I have my planning, and in my planning is usually anything from things I've researched to if I make a phone call to Disney World so I could talk to someone about a resort, tickets, any questions I have. I have paper in here and I write it, or I'll print the email off so that I can remember what was said. So I also keep in here, this is an old one, so it's not as up to date as some of my other ones, but I try to make a new one for each trip, and I just borrow from the older ones. So my newer ones, which are with a friend right now, she's planning a trip and I'm helping her plan her trip, but she's got them right now because she's making her own binder. So I'm using an older one, but it's still pretty much like what I would do. I have a list of all the phone numbers for different places, the reservations, dining, that kind of thing. And I have a couple, and then I also keep any tips or tricks that I've kind of found over the years on the internet, like traveling information. If I need to know anything about maybe some like toll roads or construction that's going on, there's some different sites you can Google. And I thought I had them on here, and I guess I didn't write the sites on here. I just copied and pasted what I used, so I don't have a site reference for that, and I apologize. Just like some tips and tricks. That's what I do kind of in my planning. When we've gone before and we've stayed off property, I had printed a list of grocery stores in the area because I knew we were going to have to go grocery shopping. And when we stay in an RV, or we also stay in a cabin there at Fort Wilderness, I want to go grocery shopping and I go off property because it's less expensive. There's just a Walmart and a couple of grocery stores around the way. I also have in my planning binder, I keep maps. I print out, now that we have our GPS, I don't do it as much, but I still think it's fun to follow a map. And so I follow the map while my husband is driving with the GPS. But I print out the MapQuest, what it says we're going to do and that kind of thing. I also have my little binder, or my little tab is missing right now, but it's like resorts and the places we're going to stay. So if we're staying in a hotel on the way, I print that off and that goes in here first. It goes in the order of which I will use it. So say I'm staying at the Holiday Inn in Dallas, I'll have that, and then maybe I'll have, the Days Inn in Shreveport, and we'll have that. And then I have, like, this one is for Fort Wilderness. We stayed at Fort Wilderness this time, and so then I have that one. And then my next ones would be on the way home. Where are we staying on the way home? Then I have my parks, like, do I have any, like all my tickets, if I'm going to need to pick up tickets at will call, do I already have my tickets, that kind of thing there. And any kind of reservations or anything we have in the parks. We may be going to a show or things of that nature, or maybe there's some street actors we want to watch, or there's parades or things, and I try to keep some little, spur of the moment type things in here, just in case we find ourselves with some free time, we're waiting for a ride or something, then we can say, oh, you know what, that's showing, let's pop over there. Then I have my meals. Anywhere that I'm going, I keep, anytime we have a reservation anywhere, I keep that in the order that we're going to use it on our itinerary. I also keep in here, like, some of our favorite restaurants, so that I'll, if we can't think of anything we really want to do, maybe we just want to, I'll flip through and I'll say, oh, you know what, let's run over to 50's Prime Time or whatever. Remember when we had that great float there? And so I do like to keep some things on hand that are just kind of, tips and tricks and things of that nature. Now, your binder will obviously be something that creates the best path for you. You're going to want to be as organized as you want to be. You may not want to have that many tablets. You may just want to have a spiral that or a binder that you just literally poke holes in and put your stuff in there, and you flip through it when you're ready for it. I just like to, that's just what I do. That's kind of my hobby, is organizing these trips. Here's another binder that I did, that just to show you some other, so every year I do a different one, and I keep paper and things like that in them. So you're going to want to stay organized. I also make one for the kids, just because I like to keep my kids entertained, because, who wants a child on your hands that constantly saying, I'm bored, or when are we going to be there? So I, keep calendars, and there's activities and all kinds of things. So we have a countdown before we go, and then they would be able to do, things. It just kind of, it hiked up, I guess, the anticipation level in our planning phase, and kind of kept them going and what have you, and then that kept them entertained on the car trips or any kind of downtime that we had. So definitely put yourself together a binder, and and be ready for that. The next thing you want to do is, on your budget, you need to know how much money do you have, and where are you going to get it. Are you going to work an extra job? Are you going to have a garage sale, sell something on Craigslist? Do you have a penny jar, savings, income tax? All of those things are going to go into that. And you're going to want to have some pretty basic ideas on how you're going to spend that. I was going to give you just a quick sample budget. That's what I use. Now I have just lines, like a spreadsheet, and I just doctor it up a little bit with some pictures. On mine, I have from Disney. How much we're going to spend on gas, on food, on lodging, on extras, that kind of thing. Are we going to go to any shows? Or are we going to leave the property to go to maybe Universal Studios, things like that? You'll need to decide that and add that on your budget. You're going to really want to spread your money out. Whatever you have, you're going to want to spread it out. Now, usually the tickets and where you stay is probably going to be your most expensive. So you're probably going to want to allot more money to those items. When you go to buy your tickets, Disney is a place that they want you to come and they want you to stay for a while. So they kind of price according to that. So what they'll do is, like, a one-day ticket may be $100, but then if you buy a 10-day ticket, it averages out to be about $36 a day. So for $360 you get 10 days, and for one day you get $100, or maybe for 4 days you spend $120 a person. So you decide how much you want to spend, and the more days you stay, the less your tickets are. Now, that's something that you're going to have to decide, how long you have, things of that nature. That will go in kind of into where you're going to stay. Do you want to stay at a value resort? Do you want to stay at a deluxe resort? The more you spend, the more pampered you are. The less you spend, you may have to walk further. You may, you drive further on the bus, or not as close to the parks, things of that nature. But if you get packages, if you buy your tickets and your resort together, then you'll save a little money. Sometimes they'll give you a free day or two. Sometimes they'll give you 20% off. It's completely up to you based on how many people are going and how you want to stay. If you've got the money to stay at the deluxe with 20 people, go for it. But if you need to go down to a little more moderate, you might get a cabin where it's got a full kitchen. It costs a little more money a night, but what you save in eating out may even that out, and then you're able to stay at a deluxe resort, but you eat all your meals at home. So when I buy tickets, I go straight to the source. I don't want to fool around with any place that I don't feel is not necessarily not safe, just I want to make sure I get from a good source. I always use disneyworld.disney.go.com/tickets. That's the official site. I start putting in numbers. I may say 5 of us in a deluxe resort, see how much it is. 5 of us if I buy a package. 5 of us if I go to a value resort. If I buy tickets separately. I mean, there's just a lot of ways to do it. I get on there, I play around with it, and I see what fits best for us. And that's what you need to do. You need to make sure that you're doing what's best for you. Play around with it. There's nothing set in stone. So you've got plenty of time to change that. Now, obviously, you're going to want to do your research. Research is the number one in all of these things, because if you don't research it, if you don't get lots of information, then you're going into it blind. And Disney World is not a place you want to go into blind. Now, what you're going to want to do is keep excellent notes. Keep excellent notes on everybody you talk to, every website you go to. Make some notes just so that you have them all in one place. And a good idea would be to have a Word document that's like dining, and then all the stuff you find on it. Now, I keep mine open, my computer open, and I'll keep these up. And if I find a good idea on dining, I'll copy and paste that onto my dining document, or my tickets document, or a tip on shows, or where to get free stuff, or whatever, that kind of thing. So you definitely want to be staying organized through this whole process, because if you don't, you get overwhelmed really quickly. Another item on your budget, you're going to want to have food. Are you going to bring your own food? Are you staying someplace you can bring all your own food? Are you going to be eating out the whole time? Are you going to, do you have a specific restaurant in mind? Do you want to just play it by ear? Sometimes that works. I mean, sometimes we would just walk around and say, you know what, that sounds good, let's eat there today. But most of the time, we knew where we were going to eat and when we were going to eat, and probably what we were going to eat, because that's the kind of research that we do. But there's so many options that you're going to have a lot of fun once you get on and start researching that. You'll see some great ideas. Now, when we stay in an RV, or if we stay in a cabin there, we would do all of our own food. So I just created my own little, shopping list, and I've used this year after year, so you can see I've got different color codes and things of that nature. Again, these can be used with other trips, so you don't have to just do your Disney. If you're going camping, if you're going to Colorado, if you're just going to a family reunion, these are great tips that can be used elsewhere. Some of my favorite websites that I always use when I'm planning my trips, allears.net, excellent website. It's got all the menus from every place there is to eat in the park. You can get tips on dining. You can get tips on park, like how crowded it is, when's the best time to go, things like that. Frommers, FROMMERS.com is another wonderful resource. They really have a lot of reviews, things like that. So I go back and forth between those two. And I also use the mouseforless.com. That's an excellent one. That has a lot of tips on great ways to get discounts. As people go to the parks, they go back in and post and they say, this was a great way to save money on Cokes, or on water, or on different things. I mean, it's hard to remember all of them because there were so many. But one of my favorite tips from that would be, we learned that if you buy a bottle of water, it's more expensive than if you walk up and ask for a cup of ice water. A cup of ice water is free, and so we would just get a cup of ice water for free, and it saved us. And we did that at all of our restaurants. Even if we went to eat at a big meal, and it turned out perfectly. It saved us tons of money. So remember that if you want to go, the best rule of thumb, the best rule of thumb on when to go and the pricing on that is, if school is in session, there will be less people there. But you always have to remember, if there are less people, they will close some of the rides, they will not stay open as long, some of the parades will be canceled. the opposite side of that would be going when school is out, which is when most people do, which is peak season. Everything costs more crowded, definitely more people in the parks. So, you want to decide based on those things when you want to go. If you have little kids, or if you have grown children who are in college or whatever, and that doesn't matter, you're not working around school, then you could definitely go during a slow time. Just remember that maybe a water parks and pools will be closed, things of that nature. Once you make your decision, you need to get your reservations in immediately, because you do not want those to fill up. Because if they fill up, you're stuck getting either a more expensive one, or one farther away from the buses, or from a comfort station, or from the front desk. And you're walking and walking and walking, and it takes up a lot of when you could be in the park playing. So just remember that too, that you want to get your reservations in as quickly as possible. Now that you've got all your money and you know how your money is going to be spent, you need to get your itinerary together. I'm just going to show you a quick copy of what I make. Again, it's just a little spreadsheet that I've made, and I just label each thing. I put the date. I put things like what park we're going to that day. I put where we're going to end up that day on our drive. Like we may leave Lubbock and go to Dallas, so that's on there. And then I put where we're eating. Are we eating in our cabin? Are we eating out? Are we cooking out that night? I get very detailed, because then I fold this up, put it in my backpack, and I take it with me. All my reservation numbers, if we're going to a show, La Nuba, 9 o'clock La Nuba, then I know exactly what time. I have all my reservation information with it, and then I will have the actual reservation I have that has my tickets on it. It will be on my card, and then there'll be a piece of paper that is folded up with this. So I just really try to be as organized as I can possibly be, because it does save a whole bunch. I promise you, it's going to save you a whole bunch of heartache when you get there and you don't know where you're going or what you're doing. So just a couple of things I wanted to end with. A couple of little pro tips, if you will. Make sure you take lots of pictures. You're going to want these. These are great memories. You're going to want them. And then you're going to want to make a scrapbook. So take your pictures and try to find some free things for your scrapbook, because that's part of the planning. It may be afterwards, but you want these things. So, napkins, coasters, swizzle sticks, brochures and maps. You're going to love those things later on. 5 years down the road, when you're looking at your scrapbook and remembering all that, you're going to love it. Make sure you take a small backpack, put some water and some snacks in there. You are definitely going to find that saves the day. There's nothing worse than a 6-year-old whining at your feet while you're standing in line. So throw them a bottle of water and a granola bar, and I promise you'll save the day. And just remember, nothing goes perfect. It's going to rain. You're going to lose you'll lose a debit card, or, you'll miss your reservations. Go with the flow. Throw on a poncho. Make sure your stuff's covered up and get out there, because, there's no sense in losing the good and focusing on a negative in the middle of a vacation. And if you will just follow my steps, if you will you want to do your budget, you want to do your travel and lodging, and you want to get you an itinerary together, this is going to make for a fabulous trip of a lifetime.